What's up, mob crew? Let's make sure I can hear myself better. If you guys can hear me, please put a 1 in the chat. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're new to the show, I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover murder, mystery to the paranormal. And just make sure, see some 1s in the chat. Make sure you guys can hear me okay. Before we get started, I'm going to quickly plug my affiliate, My Patriot Supply. So I'll be right back. Mob crew and friends, are you prepared for the widespread food shortages ahead? Farmers have been warning us for months, but are we listening? They say it's beyond their control, especially with the fertilizer crisis. Bottom line, food shortages will be a harsh reality very soon. That's why you should get ready now with emergency food from My Patriot Supply. And good news, today you'll save 20% on their 3-month food kit. These kits provide delicious, easy-to-make breakfasts, lunch, dinner, snacks, drinks for one person for 3 solid months. Get one for each member of your family while you're able to save 20% during this timely sale. Remember, My Patriot Supply is the nation's largest preparedness company with millions of families already protected. These 3-month food kits, which average 2,000 calories a day, are in stock and ready to go. Your order ships fast and free and arrives in unmarked boxes. Go to www.preparewiththemobcrew.com. Those who know what's coming are already prepared. Are you? Prepare with www.preparewiththemobcrew.com. Thank you so much. Okay, so shout out to My Patriot Supply for sponsoring the show here, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. I see Good Discourse. Hi, Chris. I'm a long-time lurker who finally made an account to subscribe last week. That is so awesome. Thank you so much, Discourse. And thank you to everyone. And let's see, Tom says, OnStar data is the nail in the coffin. Well, yeah, so that's what we will focus on here in a little bit. Before we get started, of course, we like to give back by featuring the missing, and then we'll get into the latest with the Alex Murdaugh case. Clear that real quick. Okay, so today we have missing veteran Matt Kemper. We featured him a couple times. They're still looking for him. Hashtag find Matt Kemper if you want more details. He is 46 years old. Went missing somewhere along North Glendale in Nevada. That was on January 5th, earlier this year. He was driving a gray 2018 Chevy Colorado truck, Utah plates G325 Frank Zebra. If you have any information or details on his whereabouts, please call 702-828-3111 or your local law enforcement. And let's see here. And this is the area that he went missing at, this is Nevada here. We have Arizona and Utah. It's kind of, when we go to, let's say if we want to drive to Las Vegas, we actually head south on I-15, and it takes you basically through those 3 states. So they're trying to keep an eye out for him in this area here. Okay, one more. This is really huge. Just another one near Utah. This is Austin Madsen. He went missing on January 27th. It's just a few weeks ago. He went missing out of the Mount Dutton area of Kanab in Utah. He is a resourceful guy, so hopefully he'll be able to, has the resources to make it out. He's 6'2", skinny build, hazel eyes, longish brown hair. Let's see, what else is it saying here? He's believed to be carrying a black duffel bag and possibly a light gray backpack. If you have any tips, please call 801-682-5675. Or you can send in your tips at austinmadisontips@gmail.com. And just to kind of show everybody where that's at. That's kind of southern Utah here. This is apparently where they saw his truck last. And this is Garfield County here, this red outline. He said he was possibly going south into Arizona, but I don't think he made it that far. I think he's somewhere up in this canyon somewhere. Hopefully, prayers for the family and they are able to find him. Okay, so crazy day today. We'll get you all caught up. Of course, if it involves the Alex Murdaugh family, there's always something crazy going down. And so today they had a bomb threat. So we'll just take a little quick peek at that. Oh, it does. Oh,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to evacuate.
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. Cover your ears. Cover your ears.
So we'll be in recess until we discover what's going on.
Sorry, guys. Holy moly! Apologize about that. I was expecting that. Anyway, let me play this one. This will be better.
Well, thank you for coming back. I have some breaking news for you. The Colleton County Courthouse where the trial of Alex Murdaugh is being held has been evacuated. Has been evacuated. Let me repeat that. Has been evacuated. Why? Due to a reported bomb threat.
Cool,
They're
boy.
moving people away from the courthouse right now for safety. As soon as we can get to our own Gigi McKelvey, we will have her on the air to talk about what is happening at that courthouse where Alex Murdaugh may be being moved to.
So anyway, so short story. There was a bomb threat. After 2.5 hours, I think it came around just before lunchtime. They evacuated the building for 2.5 hours. They sent in law enforcement or the bomb squad or whatever, and then sent everybody, cleared it, and said everything's fine. And they resumed trial after 2.5 hours. So no threat, thank goodness, but it was kind of wild. Tom says, OnStar data is what's going to nail Troy Driver. Yes, Troy Driver is the one accused of taking the life of Ariane. Yes. I almost forgot her name. And Miss Dog Lover says, hey, Chris, would be amazing if you could cover the Nicola bully case in the UK. Yeah, I've been hearing that's getting pretty big. It's nearly 2 weeks since she went missing, all over the news here. Interesting. Thank you, Miss Dog Lover. Yeah, I'll have to look into that for sure. Just because we've been doing I'm just checking the chat. You guys can hear me okay, right? Oh, on the video. Okay, you were talking about the video. Okay, just making sure. Yeah, I'll have to look into that case just because me and Steve were doing a lot of research on this case and doing a lot of, for those that are kind of new to the channel, we've been doing some reenactments with the ballistics and stuff. Steve from True Crime Web, former law enforcement, former forensic expert. And so he's been basically reenacting the crime scene. And it was really interesting results on what we found with Paul Murdaugh and where the shooter's location was, and we'll probably recap that at some point. But we'll go over the timeline, and then we'll go over the new update with the OnStar data that they talked about. It was, I don't know, that's why I kind of asked you guys in the chat, do you think the prosecution is doing a good job presenting the case? Because, I don't know, sometimes there's highs and lows with this case, and I feel like there was crucial data today, but it was kind of like boring. And I wonder if the jurors are actually, like, you know, getting it. And apparently I don't think they can have notebooks. I guess, like, each case, or it depends on the judge if they can take notes. And I would think that would be just crucial to have jurors taking notes, especially with something like this, with the data. It was kind of monotonous. I had to write it all down, so I wrote all the times down because basically they would have a timestamp, and then if it was in park or drive, and then another timestamp, and so I had to write them all down. And so, but we did get them all plugged in, and we'll kind of basically talk about where he was going and the timeline, I guess. So, all right, so sounds good. You're just talking about the video. Okay, cool. All right, so let's just recap everything real quick. Let's start out here. Let's go. Start out with the crime scene. So, let's see here. that the one we want to use? Let me clear that for you just real quick. All right, so here's the crime scene. They used this little diagram here. I kind of blew it up and kind of made my own, so it's a little bit bigger. But here we have Paul, who was shot twice with a shotgun. Looks like he was shot with possibly two different shells, according to Steve. It looks like the first time he was shot, he was actually standing in the feed room that they call it. The second shot, it seems like after the first shot, he kind of stumbled forward and he was kind of in the doorway. And the second shot caused him to fall down, face down first. Then we have Maggie, who was found, which they say in the notes, approximately 30 to 40 feet away from Paul. And we see that she's shot with approximately, she was hit 5 times. There's 6 shells, but she was shot with 300 blackout rifle. Looks like 2 different groupings of shells. So it looks like 2 different positions that the shooter was at. Most likely the shooter would have shot Paul because he would have been the biggest threat. And, you know, if he shot Maggie first, you'd most likely have Paul, who is most likely was close to his gun. So I'd assume that Paul was shot first, and then Maggie being second, and then possibly 2 shots from the front, and then 3 more shots close up while she's lying face down, sadly. So kind of sad. Go forward here. Okay, so we're going to come up to the timeline here. I got so much. Oh yeah, here, I know what we'll do. We'll just do a basic timeline video here. That's what I wanted to do. So here is just a basic timeline, and then we'll break down it further. But according to Alex's alibi, and actually I'll move this over so you can see it easier. There we go. So according to Alex, him and the family are outside doing some things, and we even see this on a short video that's uploaded at 7:38. One thing to note here is what he's wearing. We see a blue shirt, white khakis, and what looks to be brown loafers. That'll be crucial coming up in a bit. Then we got 8:40. We got the video. So now, of course, between 8 and 9, according to Alex's timeline, he says he's taken a nap. But a video taken by Paul at 8:44 shows different, as we can hear Paul, Maggie, and Alex at the kennels.
Quit.
And so we could clearly hear him saying, "Come here, Bubba," which Bubba is the yellow Labrador dog that they have along with Cash. And then the last activity on both of their phones are at 8:49, Paul and Maggie's. So it's most likely the shooting took place at 8:40, 8:50 approximately. So here we've got the text messages, and I'll blow this up here. This is just a video, but I'll got a bigger timeline built for you guys. But Paul reads his last message at 8:48 and 39 seconds, basically 8:49. And then same with Maggie. She reads her last message at 8:49 and 27 seconds. And so it looks like between 8:49 and probably 8:53, so about 3 to 4 minutes, is when the whole shootings between the two of them take place. Over pretty quick, sadly. Because at 8:53 and 15 seconds, somebody would grab her phone besides Maggie, because at 8:54 it tries to recognize a face because it sees, the camera notices there's a face because it's being held, and it doesn't unlock because it's not Maggie's face. So I would assume that is most likely Alex, or if you don't think it's Alex, the shooter, who has her phone in the hand and is doing whatever. So this is where now we're going to learn exactly where Alex went after the shooting. So this is what we'll break down here in just a second. But apparently he leaves at 9:06. And then he would come back home and he would call 911 at 10:06. But we'll break down that that between 9 and 10 here in just a second. But as we can see, the two outfits, this is at 7:30. This would be taken 4 or 5 hours later when they kind of get his, I don't know if it's an interrogation, but really just kind of an incident report, I guess you could call it. But not only did he change his pants and shirt, but he's also got a new pair of shoes on as well. And we'll see these in evidence. So he's clearly got some kind of yellow and white tennis shoes. So that's just kind of the basic timeline. Now we'll break down what... Oh, let me get this real quick here. Thank you, AJ. Welcome to the members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You guys are so awesome. Chris Davis says, wait, was Paul's gun there or not? No reason for Alex to run back to the house. No, if we kind of look at the overview of where they were at... That's a good picture. This is probably a good picture to explain it. So here we have the kennels. This is like the secondary driveway here, and you can kind of see where they've driven. So it seems like they would, probably park their cars. And there's even kind of like a driveway here. So I would assume they'd have, because they have their stuff right here. So I'm assuming they would drive and back up and probably get something. So they probably had at least one or two vehicles somewhere nearby. According to Paul's friend, he kept at least one of his guns, the shotgun and or the blackout, with him, either on his person or in his vehicle. So he wouldn't have to go all the way to the house, which is 3.5 football fields away. They probably had the guns either on them or in the vehicle close by. They also had like an ATV that was supposedly around here. They could have had a weapon on that as well. But that's just speculation. Okay, so let's break down the OnStar data. Okay, so like I said, I wrote everything down, and it was a lot. But I've got highlighted the most important stuff of it. So they took the data from. So Alex has a Chevy Suburban that is a 2021. I believe it's white because the housekeeper said that she saw him come in a white SUV. I think she referred to it as a truck, but she said it was white. So at 9:06, it apparently boots up, and then at 9:06 and 50 seconds, it is put into drive. And so basically, like the only data they could get from the OnStar, if you didn't watch today's court hearing, is they could only get it where they either know it's either in drive, park, or if it's booting up. So they couldn't say where it was at or anything. They didn't have like actual GPS data. They just knew when it was in park or when it was out of park. So that's why we have drive, park, drive, park. So at 9:06 and 50 seconds, it is put into drive. So this is most likely when he drives to his mother's home in Alameda. And that looks like it took him approximately 16 minutes to get there, which we kind of assumed. So at 9:22 and 45 seconds, which is approximately 16 minutes later, it is put into park. It seems like he was there at his mother's house. The babysitter even confirmed this. She said 15 to 20 minutes. And so it looks like at so at 9:43 and 5 seconds is when the car gets put back into drive. So he was at his mother's for 21 minutes, and now it's recorded for less than a minute, so maybe he's backing out of the driveway at 9:43 and 53 seconds. Then at 9:44 and 54 seconds, he is driving again. And then the next log is at almost 10 o'clock and 36 seconds. So that's another 16 minutes. So that would be him driving from his mother's house, presumably back to his house. And that takes almost exactly 16 minutes. And then this is where it gets kind of weird. Is we've got a bunch of little time logs. We got 10:01, 17 seconds where it's put into drive, and it's driven for 12 seconds, which is interesting. Then put back into park. A second later, it is put into drive again, and he drives for 13 seconds. And then it powers down for 10:04 and 44 seconds. So he's doing something for 3 minutes because it doesn't go off between 10:01 and 10:04. So who knows what's going on there. Now keep in mind, he does not call, this is where it gets really interesting, is he does not call 911 until 10:06. So we know that he arrives home sometime by 10:01, assuming. Or I guess, yeah, 10:01 and 17 seconds. So it's interesting, unless he drove to the house, which I think this is probably indicates that he did. He drove to the house, and then these 12 to 13 second drives could be him driving back and forth from the kennels to the house. Then he drives one more time before he calls 911 between 10:04 and 10:05. So another drive for about a minute, 16 seconds. So who knows what he's doing, but he's assume he's at the house and driving probably back and forth. Yeah, odd behavior for sure. Yeah, what is he doing? And I'm going to try to break this down even further. Like I said, I had to type this all up. This took a lot longer than I was thinking. But yeah, so he wasn't at his mother's for very long. Yeah, he was only at his mother's approximately 21 minutes according to the records here. So that means he got back at about almost right on the dot, 10 o'clock. So that's kind of interesting. So let me take a sip real quick here. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Oh, they've got a lot of acreage. That's something, if we get some time, maybe we'll see if I can break that down. There's a lot. I remember I heard the number, but I can't remember it. I might have it written down somewhere. Let me get to Tom real quick here. OnStar records everything. Gary Huge cussed me when I said OnStar was the way to find Troy Driver when the 2021 GMC Blue Denali became a vehicle of interest. Oh, I know that how they narrowed him down. Mad data on reverse lookup. Interesting. Yeah, with the GPS. Yeah, I would think they would have some kind of GPS on that too, but at least they knew that he was driving, so it kind of gives them a better timeline. But it was kind of hard to, I mean, I'm sure the jury was having a hard time kind of understanding. Well, I don't know. It was just not, I think they could have presented it in a better way and could have told a timeline of what was going on with the whole, because they didn't talk about like what he could have been doing. They just were talking about the times and then the minutes or seconds between those times, and that's it. So I don't know if especially if you can't take notes. I think that's kind of tough. Anyway, so we'll break down the timeline of the phones, and then we'll talk about the gunshot residue, which was really interesting. That was talked about yesterday, and actually, yeah, Monday and Tuesday, which we didn't get to cover yesterday because I wasn't live. But if you guys missed the video that me and Steve did, we'll go ahead and play that for you guys so I can get this set up real quick. Great, yeah.
Totally.
What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Second shot. Okay. Just in case you guys missed that, we'll play that real quick while I get set up here. So Steve is going to be doing a reenactment of Maggie. It won't be as detailed because Maggie, it's a little bit harder. There's a bunch of different positions, but he's still going to do a few recreations and shooting a dummy and stuff. So it'll still be very interesting to see the reenactment. But if you missed it here, this is Steve kind of reenactment, reenacting the odd angles that Paul was shot at. We kind of know this because of the defects behind the window and the bird cage. That kind of gives you an idea of the angle, and then according to how tall Paul is and how tall Alex is, indicates that this was shot at a very low angle. So he would have been shot in the chest and arm. That would have probably not incapacitated him, but caused him possibly to stumble. And Steve was able to recreate the defects in the window, so that kind of gives an idea of the angle. So, and then of course with how close he was. But the reason why I wanted to replay this for people that have already seen this is the amount of gunshot residue that the shooter would have had on them, and because that's what we're going to talk about next here, and then we'll recap the big timeline again. But the gunshot residue that Alex would have on him, assuming Alex is the one that did this, he would have been covered in gunshot residue. Now, he could have washed his hands, but clearly his clothing would have been a different story. And then not to mention the blood and human matter that would get also from the blowback of the shotgun. So it looks like, I think Alex, me and Steve assume that maybe since Alex didn't go down on the first shot, and you can tell where Alex was during the first shot because you can see these kind of groupings of the blood right here. Those dark spots, those are indicant of when somebody's kind of bent over and bleeding. I guess it's like 90-degree droplets. I forget what he calls it, but that's what those droplets are there. And so he must have then, after kind of regrouping, came forward. Maybe Alex just wasn't expecting him to recover, and then could have possibly tripped. Maybe he dropped one. Maybe he had just one shell in a shotgun and thought that was going to do the trick, and could have dropped, a shell. And so he kneeled down on the ground to put it in quickly. And Paul started to come forward, so he's kind of knelt down, and so now he's got to angle it up. So many different things could have happened, but the one thing we know is that the angle of the shot was at a very steep angle. And trigger warning, if you haven't seen this, I mean, this is just gelatin and styrofoam. But Steve is actually laying down. For those that didn't know about this, he is actually laying down. And so two of the reasons why we, and Steve knows that this had to have been kind of the angle of the shot, is that sadly what was left of Paul's brain was found close to his body, which if you were shooting straight ahead, that would have caused it just to go flying back, by the inside the feed room, back by the bird cage and window and stuff. But that was not the case. They found matter on the ceiling, and also what was left was near his body, which would cause something to go up an angle. So really weird shot. Great job by Steve to reenact that. Amazing. We can kind of see the defects and stuff. He's going to be doing some luminol tests. I think he's doing that today, and I think he's actually doing the Maggie reenactment as well. But the thing is, so with just with Paul itself, he should have been covered in gunshot residue and most likely blood and human material. But as we can see here on the left side, looks like he's got a clean t-shirt. They even say he not only looked like a clean t-shirt, but it smelt fresh, which is weird, because he'd been wearing at least this shirt for a couple of hours before they came. But yeah, we don't see anything on him. So this is where I think the prosecution has failed, and then we'll come back to the timeline and break down just the bullet points. But this is where it gets a little weird. So according to the gunshot residue lady, let me pull her up first, and then we'll get to the tarp and stuff. But according to her, when they tested Alec, he only had one particle on his right hand. And then I think with his white shirt and shorts, very minimal gunshot residue. Mainly, I think, just on his shorts and his crotch area, which would most likely be indicative of him holding, because remember, after he calls 911, he's kind of afraid that the shooters might still be out there, so he goes and gets a shotgun from inside the house, which I think was on purpose, and especially wanted to get that on 911. That would explain any gunshot residue, if it was minimal or a lot, because he could just explain that away by grabbing the shotgun. And just by grabbing the shotgun, even if he hadn't fired the shotgun that day, if it had been fired at least recently, it would have had gunshot residue on it, causing him to, get just that very minimal amount on his, person and his clothing. So that would kind of make sense too, is why they did find gunshot residue, but very minimal. Whereas if the person who shot Paul would have been covered in it, so it must mean he had to have changed his clothing. So this is where it gets a little interesting, is the housekeeper who testified the other day, I think it was Monday, she said that she saw Alex come over, and she was pretty good with the timeline. She said that she thought he was only there for about 15-20 minutes. She said that he arrived sometime between 8:30 and 9:30, but now we know he arrived at he would have arrived at his mother's house at 9:22 approximately, and then was there for 21 minutes. But she said she saw him with a blue tarp. This is where it also gets confusing. She said she swears that she's seen him with a blue tarp, and so I think there is, and let me know in the chat what you guys think about this, but they don't have a tarp in evidence that I know of. They do have a blue raincoat, and what's interesting is that blue raincoat, not on the outside, but the inside, is doused, but it's got tons of these gunshot particles, which would be indicative of somebody shooting a firearm and being covered. So it was kind of interesting. Now they think it's possible that he wrapped it up. So I wonder if he had maybe both, because correct me if I'm wrong, but she said that she saw this tarp laid out over a chair, I believe. Is that what she said? I think she said that the tarp was laid over a sofa or a chair. And so I wonder if he had possibly both, maybe a tarp and maybe had that inside the tarp. Yes. Let me turn this down. Okay, so they did have the blue. Now, were they just representing the tarp as what she saw, or they did have the tarp? Okay. I wasn't sure if they. So there is the tarp and the. Okay, but they didn't find anything on the tarp, right? Yeah, because that was a little confusing. Okay, they didn't test the blue tarp, only blue jar. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. I couldn't remember. So the reason, because I saw them with the tarp, but I wasn't sure if they were just showing that to say, hey, does this look like a tarp that you saw? And so that's what it was. I just was a little confused on that. Like I said, I feel like the prosecution could be presenting this a much better way. But anyway, so I guess the tarp did not have any gunshot residue. So I wonder if he had the guns wrapped inside the blue raincoat on the inside and then had the tarp over it, because she only saw one item. That's what I do remember. So yeah, that's weird. So that's so weird. Why wouldn't they test the tarp? That is weird. So anyway, so they had the tarp and the blue raincoat, but on the inside of the raincoat had all the gunshot residue. I don't think there was really anything on the outside. So that is so weird. So I think that's more indicate of maybe wrapping the guns up, or he could have had his clothing that he used to shoot them with and then put the raincoat on because it was raining. And maybe that's where the particles from his clothing that he was in earlier transferred into the inside of the raincoat. That would make sense. So let's say if he was wearing that blue shirt and the white khakis, tan khakis, whatever, and put the raincoat on because it was raining, went to go clean up, and just by putting that over him would have transferred that gunshot residue. That would kind of make sense. The only thing, though, is he'd still be covered in blood, which he... I'd like to know where his this clothing's at. This is something else they haven't really talked about, and even after the, I think Court TV, who's been, one of the channels hosting the live feed, they even talked about it in the halftime thing where they have met, where is this clothing? Like, that's something I would be looking for is his brown loafers, his white tan pants, and his blue shirt. So weird. Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, I definitely think he dumped the guns. Chris Davis says, wrap the guns to go dump them, then had to hide the raincoat. Yeah, totally agree with that. Give me 1 second. Let me shut this down. Slow the chat real quick for you. Okay, let me know how that is. Let me know if that's better for you guys. Okay, so we'll break down the timeline a little bit better. I'm so mad because I had something like... I had all this kind of like blown up for you guys in a much better... presented in a way that I like it, but my computer crashed when I was doing this, so I lost my data. There we go. Okay. Let me know how that is, guys. Okay, so we'll just kind of go over some of the timeline again. Just kind of the last few hours. So with Paul, we have Paul and Maggie's phone records here. And so we've got, we'll start at we'll start at the video here. So at 7:38 is when we see the one video of him with the tree, which I just showed that photo. Then we fast forward a little bit. Of course, Alex says he goes to take a nap, but let's see, where is it at? There it is. Paul records a video that lasts 50 seconds, which is the video of them all talking, and we can hear Alex's voice in the background. That is taken at 8:44 and 49 seconds. And then at 8:49, 39 seconds, the last text message would be sent to him. Paul would read it almost basically at 8:49. If we switch over to Maggie, she would read her last text message at 8:49 and 27 seconds. So basically 27-second gap between the two messages. So then we have Paul, who gets shot twice with the shotgun. And we have Maggie, who gets shot 5 times, at least twice in the head, sadly. And that, in my opinion, I think that happened between 8:49 and 8:53. Then we have at 8:53, let's see if I can zoom it in so you guys can see it better. At 8:53, there's 59 steps recorded, which is, I calculated at 2.5 feet per step. That's approximately 147 steps. That's about the same as walking from, let's say if he walked from like the kennels to part of the driveway south, and we'll look at the map. That would be indicative of maybe him walking to the vehicle. Then there's a couple of orientation changes on Maggie's phone. And then at 8:54, there's a face that's not Maggie's, and most likely Alex holding the camera. So that's at 8:54. And let me take a sip here. And then we switch over to the new data that we have. So at 9:06 is when the vehicle and his SUV boots up. And what's to note about this is there is a time. Let's see, where is it at? So between 8:53, so let's say the shootings end at approximately 8:53. He walks around with the phone for what looks like 2 minutes or a minute and a half, say. So at 8:54 to 9:06, there's at least 12 minutes that's unaccounted for. So I think that's plenty of time for him to maybe walk back to the house and maybe change his clothes. And I completely forgot, we'll bring this up, is completely the biggest thing I want to talk about is the fact that he smelled like his new clothing smelled like fresh laundry detergent. So we'll bring that up here in a minute. But so he has at least 10 to 12 minutes that are unaccounted for after the shooting happens. So I'd give him plenty of time to go to the house and dispose of some things, clean up, change his clothes, comes back out at 9:06. He is now in his SUV and he boots it up. He then starts driving at approximately 9:06 and 50 seconds. He would then get to his mother's home at 9:22 and 45 seconds, taking 16 minutes. At 9:43 and 5 seconds, he would leave, so that would mean that he was at his mother's house for 21 minutes approximately. Looks like he has a little drive-in park, so he could have been backing out of something possibly. Then at 9:44 and 54 seconds, he drives from his mother's house back to his house, which takes approximately 16 minutes. So he'd be back about 10 p.m. And 36 seconds. Then we have these weird kind of logs. And let me look at this one here so we can kind of see the picture of the place here. So assuming he's back now, and one thing I forgot to mention is So the road goes through here. So this is Mosella Road right here. You can't see it right here. But what's interesting to know is if he was heading to his mother's house, he would actually come out this way and travel this way. And I'm not sure. I think the phone was actually found a little bit further down. But the cell phone to Maggie's cell phone would be found somewhere around this area, thrown off the side of this, just like he threw it out the window. It was found in the grass over here. But anyway, with him arriving home at 10 o'clock and 36 seconds, we see that he still is in the vehicle, and at 10:01 and 17 seconds, he has a 12-second drive. So I don't know if that takes about 12 seconds to drive to the house, or if it's, I don't know, maybe that would make sense. So 12 seconds, he drives to the house. Then he drives for 13 seconds. So I don't know, maybe he drives back. So there's basically 25 seconds where he's driving. Then it powers down at 10:04 and 44 seconds. And he's doing something for 3 minutes because it wouldn't log between 10:01 and 10:04. And then keep in mind, he still hasn't called 911. So he's been at home since 10 p.m. And he won't call 911 until 10:06. So he has basically 6 minutes that he's kind of driving around for a little bit. And then powered down at 10:04 for 3 minutes. And then he drives for another minute and 16 seconds. And then that's when he eventually finally calls 911 at 10:06. So kind of interesting. Could have went back to the house. Maybe he was doing wash and it was done. And then maybe he threw something in the dryer. I don't know. It doesn't sound like responders got there right away. I've got to double check, but in my notes it says that they arrived at 10:28. This kind of seems long. I don't know if anybody knows what time they got there exactly. I have 10:28. I know a sled got there at let's see, 11:47 is what I've got written down. I'll have to double check that. This seems really long. But those are the two times that I have. That's kind of weird, but let's look at his clothing here. Where to go? Oh, where are you at? There it is. So let me grab these real quick here. Thank you, T-Bird, for the $10 super chat. So you guys are saying best way to support this channel and the algorithm is leave your DNA on the like button. Thanks for all you do, big dog. Thank you, Tom. Yes, I would help out very much. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, please hit that like button. So according to the gunshot residue, now knowing that if he was the shooter, he would have been covered in gunshot residue. But when they went to test the shirt, there was very little gunshot residue on the shirt. A little bit on his shorts, very little, minimal. Nothing on the shoes, which they don't expect much on the shoes anyway. But the biggest thing is when she pulled the shirt out of the evidence bag, and this was just a day later, she said it smelled like fresh laundry detergent. So I think that's kind of interesting. And I'm just curious to see what you guys think in the chat. Do you think he was doing some wash? Did he get like some laundry detergent, like actual like liquid on him, like when he was doing the wash frantically? Let me know what you guys think. But I think that it's really interesting that after a day and him wearing that shirt in the rain, they were kind of sweating in the car because it was humid, and it smells like a fresh shirt. So I think that's kind of interesting. 29 likes, 650 people watching. Love y'all. Sometimes the likes are not accurate. Sometimes you actually have to refresh Tom, so it might be higher than that. Yeah, 118. Yeah, I think you have to refresh it to know what it is. Yeah, he also appeared to have wet hair in Ellie's vehicle. Now, keep in mind it was raining, so that's one thing that we forgot to do or talk about last time is it did start to rain, and I'm not sure exactly what time it started. I think it was shortly after the shootings happened. I could be wrong. Think the house. Oh no, Richard thinks the housekeeper used too much detergent. Yeah, I wonder if he could have done wash at his mother's house. It's true. I don't think she helped in any way though. She seems like a very sweet lady. Gosh, her work hours and work ethic is amazing. I mean, she was doing the housekeeper that takes care of his mother and father who passed away. She has Alzheimer, but this lady, this housekeeper who testified, she was such a very sweet lady, but had such a tough schedule. She was working from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. and then she would go to school at I think like 8:30, typical school hours, and just take cat naps in between. So Mrs. Smith, I believe her name is. Alex said he went to the house to get a gun. Doesn't make sense if there was a killer on the loose. Barbara says he did not go to the house. He cleaned up outside. He's an attorney. Ooh. Maybe, yeah. I mean, we definitely don't know for sure. Oh, that's right. I forget that there's a gate. That totally makes sense. That is something that I didn't even think about with the. Oh, thank you so much, Davey. Let's see. Here's somebody else that recreated it. I think I got all my times right. Yeah, there's another thing that's interesting too is he puts it in drive at 10:13 and 39 seconds, but they don't know. I guess the system stopped recording, so they don't know what he was doing. So there's another instant where he's driving around in this SUV, assuming before they get there. But yeah, so we have 12 seconds, 13 seconds. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. Open the gate, drive. Yeah, shut it. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. But then we have another minute and 6 seconds where he's doing something in between 10:04 and 10:05. So yeah, a lot of weird activity. It took me so long to plug everything in. If I would have known somebody else was going to do it, I usually like to do my own work, but I would have had a little bit more to present. I apologize because I was writing down all that stuff on my notepad, and I had a kind of a visual put together, but unfortunately my computer crashed. But there's kind of a look at a picture of the scene that I have not seen this picture. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but here's a picture of the crime scene. Sadly, oh wow, I can actually think I can see Maggie, and I didn't even realize that. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you can't really make anything out, but it looks like Maggie on the ground. I don't know. They could just have, this could be a shadow or something. But that's where they had Maggie, and that does kind of look like, I mean, you really can't see. I mean, it almost looks like a shadow. I didn't realize that there was going to be a possible, I I don't know. That may be Maggie, but you can't really see anything. I didn't know that was actually in there. So some screenshots. I'm not sure if this is from Maggie's phone. Miss Maggie. So there's some screenshots of his phone here. There's tell Paul to call me. That's from his friend. Okay. I'm not sure what this evidence is for. Oh, this might have been what was inside the feed room, maybe. Just some pictures that I came across that I haven't seen yet. And there's another one here. So we can see kind of some of the where it was really wet inside the kennels. Now we can see buckets of water here. So we did also hear a hose on. They could have been filling up the water here, but it's most likely possible that he could have probably sprayed himself off while there. Maybe he wore the raincoats before the shootings happened and then sprayed himself off. I would think they would be able to see like all the matter and stuff. That's something I'll have to ask Steve if that's something that he could maybe do on the lawn somewhere. If they would be able to tell if he tried to say wear that raincoat. I don't know. That's really weird. Were those two different sizes of shoes? No, I don't think so, because they have the same tread. One looks smaller. It's just because this one isn't fuller. So same shoe. It didn't quite get enough of the top part. Special thanks to everyone and the amazing mods. Yeah, the dogs did see everything. Okay, there was one more thing I was gonna play. Like I said, I'm so bummed that I lost that video I was putting together for you guys. Where did it go? Oh, there's one more video somebody sent me. Let's see. I'm not sure what this is. There's volume to it. There's no volume. There's no sound to it, guys. I think they turn off the audio. They said there was some weird interaction with Buster and Alex. I don't know if it's this video. I can't even see Buster, to be honest. Unless he's standing off to the right or something. That's weird. Okay. Oh, wait, was that Buster right there? He's whispering to his thing. Oh. I don't see anything. Okay, I thought there was something in there. Somebody said this was had some weird interaction with Buster and Alex, but I don't think I didn't see anything in that one. Yeah, I didn't see him. Oh, somebody gifted memberships? That's awesome. I'm actually going to do a member video. It should be either tonight or tomorrow morning. I'll have it out for you guys. So let me just recap everything, and we'll... God, there was one more thing I was going to show you guys. Where would I had it? Oh, I'm so bummed. My computer crashed. It literally just, I had everything put together in a video and lost it. I'm so bummed. Yeah, that sucks. Thank you, Aries Dawn, for providing those. So we'll quickly do just a short little recap. And do you guys want to see the video one more time? Play the video one more time for you guys. Steve did such a job, amazing job on this. We'll play this for a build up for I think in a couple of days. I think he's doing the experiment tonight. That's probably why we don't see him on right now. So he should have some video of it. It'll probably take me a day to put together. So and this is in regards to Maggie. So I think we'll have that ready tomorrow, Thursday. Probably Friday. So we'll have the reenactment of Maggie. Now it won't be as detailed because it's a little bit different situation because the environment's a little bit different, the setting's different, but he's still going to do a couple of shots. And it'll still be very interesting to. He's going to be using the Blackout 300. Which is going to be exciting. Well, hopefully tomorrow I'll have that video that I was working on. I'll have it put together tomorrow. It's basically where I break down the vehicle and where it's at with the timelines, and I spread out the timestamps a lot better so you can understand it easier. Yeah, I asked Steve about that. He held it low to keep the GSR. But he's going to have GSR on him anyway. I mean, he grabbed the shotgun after 911. So I think that's probably the last thing he's thinking about. I would think maybe some other things like blood. I mean, he's so close. He's going to get... it don't matter if GSR's on him or not. He's going to get blood in... Because they had stippling on him. The victim, so that means the shooter is going to be covered. And of course, with this experiment, Steve didn't even, I mean, there's not even remotely the same amount of blood that was in the dummy that would be in us. He didn't want to make it too graphic. And so, but even with just the small amount that he infused with it, he did get, that's actually one of the tests that we'll be showing tomorrow. Is the luminol test of what you would have on you. So that's why he's wearing the Yeti suit. So he's actually checking himself right now. But here's just from just a little bit of infusion of the synthetic blood. And he definitely got it on him. So, but yeah, so Maggie's will be either tomorrow or most likely Friday, depends on when I get it sent to me. But he'll be recreating Maggie's reenactment, and then he's going to be doing some tests, and I'm not sure if he's going to be doing gunshot residue tests, but I have a few questions and some tests that maybe he can do for me on the, just kind of explaining why like this raincoat, is it possible that he could have, maybe there's a possibility that so he shoots Paul and Maggie, and then maybe he hoses himself down so he gets maybe like the blood off him and the material, and then he puts on the raincoat Well, I guess that would make sense because you would think, well, no, I don't know. Maybe gunshot residue could still be on him, but maybe he put that raincoat on and then drove to the house or walked to the house, I guess. I mean, he has 10, 12 minutes. He's not doing anything, so, or at least that's unaccounted for. So 10 to 12 minutes that he could have walked to the house and cleaned up. Maybe he put that raincoat on, and that's why the inside's covered with it. I know a lot of people think it's possible that they wrapped the guns in it. I kind of think that's more likely the scenario, just because if he did put a raincoat on him after shooting him, I would think that would transfer blood and human material on it. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too. If he smells like laundry detergent, and like days later, a day or two later, with pulling out that shirt in the evidence bag, yeah, it makes me wonder. That's why I think he was doing some kind of wash and maybe got like the laundry detergent kind of like spilled on him or something because he's like in a rush, and so he gets on his shirt, this new shirt he just put on. Because I mean, I know clothes smell kind of fresh when they come out of the dryer, but are they going to smell fresh a day later after he's worn it for at least 4 to 5 hours before they take it into, they take that shirt into evidence and then test it a day later? So it's weird that, the first thing they notice when pulling his shirt out, which is right here, that it smells like laundry detergent. So it's kind of odd. Well, I would say that I would say his phone was off. Maybe he had his phone on him, but I think he left his phone at his house and then he went back to turn his phone on at the house. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he went to the house, but that's just my theory and speculation. I think he left his phone at the house and off while this whole incident happened, and then turned it back on. Well, I mean, they have a hose, so I do the thing. Is there any life insurance on his son or wife? God, it wouldn't surprise me, but you're not going to get it for sure. Yeah, that's something I'll have to ask Steve about. If you could hang something up, and would a hose get GSR and human and blood? I mean, blood obviously is going to stain, so I mean that's not going to wash out. That's going to instantly stain. I mean, you can wash the stuff out, but I'd assume that like a T-shirt, it's gonna he would have to get rid of it for sure. And it says he could have hidden the bloody clothing among his hunting gear. Yeah, I think on his way to his mother's house, I'm sure he probably ditched some stuff. The fact that there's 2 guns missing, I think's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's a possibility too. That's another thing I'll have to ask Steve if that's something that's capable. Maybe he had the gun under his raincoat. He had to hide it from Paul, so he has the. I've heard a couple of people mention this. I'll have to ask Steve. So I've heard people mention that he wrapped the guns up in this raincoat, or let's say the shotgun, and then to hide it from Paul, for him not to know that he has the gun, and then fired it. Maybe. I'd have to ask Steve on if that would work or not. because obviously you would have to have the barrel sticking out, and usually gunshot residue, most of it's going to go outward. I mean, it goes everywhere, but it's going to kind of, with the shotgun, I guess it comes back a little bit more. I think with the 300 blackout, it's more, with the rifle, the gunshot residue is more forward than 360. Yeah, I wish we had Steve here to answer this. There's a lot of questions that Steve would know. But yeah, we'll have to ask Steve about that if you could recreate that. But it sounds like it was all over. So to me, that indicates, yeah, I don't know. It's a possibility. We'll have to ask Steve for sure. We're going to have him on soon. So let's see what you guys say. I'm going to end the vote here. Do you think the prosecution is doing a good job presenting the case? 45% say yes, 30% say no, quarter of you say not sure. I agree. I feel like it's kind of off and on, a little bit boring at sometimes. And then especially with today, I think they really could have explained some of the time gaps where, he's back home at 10 o'clock but doesn't call 911 until 10:06. I mean, I could understand a few minutes. He gets home, hasn't discovered the bodies yet, but I don't know, 6 minutes seems like a long time. And then you have at least 10 to 12 minutes before after the shootings and before he leaves to go to his mother's that he's doing something. So there's definitely some time gaps that need to be explained. Yeah, I think they had some deer cameras set up, trail cams over by their hunting side, but yeah, no security that I know of, so that's kind of weird, especially after the threats they were getting. You would think they would have some kind of surveillance, but I mean, they had guns on them all the time, and obviously Paul clearly, according to his friends, had guns on his person or in his vehicle. So I mean, and then they have a gun room, so they definitely were prepared. But yeah, no surveillance at all. Yeah, that's true. Closing arguments will put everything together, but yeah, but they start kind of losing the jury along the way. I mean, this sounds like we're maybe halfway through, or getting just to the halfway point. So at least maybe another. Because I think they thought maybe 5 weeks, but man, this might be 6 or 7, especially now that they're introducing the financial stuff. So I'm sure that's going to add another at least 3 or 4 days. So it's going to be a long trial. Sorry, guys, I'm really stuffed up today. A nasty cold. And I'm just so bummed because I had such a hard a video I put together for you guys, and I lost it. I'm so bummed. But anyway, I appreciate you guys coming in. That's just kind of a recap of Alex's last movements that night after the shootings. And I'm going to break it down, recreate the video that I'd made earlier, where I kind of show him driving to the mother's home and kind of do a more of a visual with all these little time stamps here. So maybe I'll have that ready for you guys tomorrow. But so I apologize I didn't have a better presentation. So thank you guys so much for your guys' support. And like I said, maybe tomorrow, if not Friday, we will have the recreation of Maggie, which will be interesting to see. And that will be done by Steve from True Crime Web. So please definitely go over there and show some love to him. He does an amazing job. And like I said, with the Paul Murdaugh thing, the way he put that together and discovered the angles of the shot, I think is very interesting. It's definitely not a normal way to shoot a shotgun, especially when you're 6 feet tall. Even kneeling down, it's still really, that second shot is really a steep angle. So really weird that he would be doing that. So thank you guys so much. Just a cold, just a little stuffed up. That's all. I got bad allergies right now. So, but thank you guys. You guys are amazing. And so I'll be going live tomorrow. I'll have that timeline broken down with the visuals of him driving to the places, and then whatever updates we'll go over as well as tomorrow. And then I'll look into that case. What is it? Nicole Bully? Hopefully I said that right. Yeah, I'll have to look into her case as well. I do see some people covering that as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, usually I'm a little more organized. Like I said, I lost my data, so kind of bummed on that. Thank you to all the mods for your guys' hard work, and we'll be back on tomorrow. Go ahead, play the outro. Also, I'll have the new pet outro maybe done by Friday. I have all the pictures. I'm just still putting them together. So thank you guys to the members for the support. You guys are awesome. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Love you guys. Be safe.